Maybe that's why we tell stories about them. We need something in the world that just is. No hidden motive, no second meaning, no tight smile pretending to be kindness while it quietly keeps a secret. People aren't like that. People need illusions the way bodies need sleep. You can go without it for a while. You'll even brag about it. But the bill always comes due. That's the part nobody thinks about when they ask. If the Book of Thoth is real, why hasn't anyone found it? Wrong question. Some things aren't hidden by distance. They're hidden by definition. We think we'd recognize truth if it were placed right in front of us, lit from every angle, impossible to miss. We picture some ancient volume glowing on a pedestal, surrounded by dust and dramatic music. But that's not how any of this started. The first translation wasn't discovered in a secret tomb or a locked underground vault. It was found on a shelf that had already been inventoried 3 separate times. The notebook was mislabeled as a routine linguistic survey, something so boring and unremarkable that entire teams of researchers had moved it from one archive to another and never once opened it. The first person who actually read it wasn't a treasure hunter or a chosen one. He was an underpaid assistant killing time during a power outage that didn't have a barcode yet. He just wanted to get ahead on his work. He didn't know that by the time the lights came back on, he would never again experience the world the way the rest of us still can. The notes inside didn't look impressive. It felt familiar, almost disappointingly so. Then he reached a margin note that made him stop. Translation unstable. Reader reports loss of ignorance, not gain of knowledge. He laughed the first time he read that. Loss of ignorance. That was the phrase it kept returning to. It does not reveal. It subtracts. Secrets you can prepare for. You can decide you want to know, or convince yourself you're ready. But what happens when every comforting story, every harmless assumption you've wrapped yourself in to get through a normal day, is peeled away without asking whether you're strong enough to live without it? Ignorance, the text insisted, is not an absence of knowledge. It is protection. A membrane stretched thin between you and the full weight of what has always been true. That's where the fear starts to feel real. Because you can imagine that, can't you? You can imagine waking up tomorrow and still knowing everything you know now. Dates, names, faces, phone passwords, but losing the soft blur around the edges of your life. The blur that lets you believe that your boss cares about you as a person, that governments are at least trying their best, that your parents did the best they could, that your partner turns their phone over for no particular reason at all. The book, according to the notes, doesn't argue with those beliefs. It doesn't debate you. It doesn't present counter-evidence. When every line hints that you're standing on the edge of a reality you've never really seen, the notebook described an earlier group of scholars who had already tried to translate the book. Painstakingly, cautiously, page by page. They didn't approach it like a mystical relic. Then, slowly, the tone shifted. Little sentences began to appear that had nothing to do with the work. Cannot return home yet. Why did I never hear the pleading before? Children in advertisements. I used to see them as cute. Now they look like ransom notes, written in pastel. He had simply lost the ability to be comforted by the old explanations. Every polite lie, every customary excuse, every "that's just how things are," started to sound, to him, like someone carefully holding the door shut while smoke seeped out from underneath. Whenever the researchers walked past, he couldn't unnotice the way funding suddenly appeared only after they agreed to limit what would be published. The archive labeled that plea as the last fully legible annotation before his handwriting dissolved into a frantic, jagged scrawl no one could reliably interpret. No one recorded what he saw on those final pages. No one had to. They only recorded the line that appeared at the bottom of the last page. That was the moment the committee decided to stop calling it research and start calling it containment. They closed the project, but the notebook, the translation, the thing the assistant later found during a power outage, that was their mistake. Because they treated the danger like it was a single object, A book in one location, on one shelf that could be sealed off. One abandoned his career entirely and took a job as a night janitor at a hospital. Not because he needed the money. He wrote, in a letter never sent, that the book had ruined his ability to say the words "isolated incident" without feeling sick. The book never told him what to do. It just refused to make the pretending feel real again. That's the part the archives never discuss directly. They talk about exposure, cognitive destabilization, ethical risk. But what they're really describing is the horror of permanent clarity, like a real, breathing human, and not a fictional character. He started noticing that every product he picked up had a story glued to it, while the official reasons were presented like theater. The book hadn't told him any new facts. It had taken away his ability to believe the pleasant version once he recognized the machinery beneath. Imagine trying to live like that. Imagine trying to sit through a family dinner, listening to old stories you now know are edited, cropped, rearranged, because you can feel like a current under the table. Every way the past is still steering the present, in a way no one expects. Because most people think they're looking for an object, a thing to be discovered, photographed, monetized, debunked, or worshipped. But the closer you get, the more it starts to feel like the book has never been lost. It's our definition of real that's been misplaced. Look around your own life for a moment. The policies you click accept on without reading. The corporate apologies that never quite say what was actually done. The way certain names disappear from the news once they've served their purpose in somebody else's storyline. The way your feed knows what to show you, to keep you scrolling, but never quite knows how to show you yourself. That's where the book hides. Not in a single leather-bound volume, just open-minded, just chasing an interesting legend. But somewhere underneath, you're making a trade you don't fully realize yet. That's what broke the first translator. Not the glimpse of cosmic secrets, but the moment he recognized that everyday life was built almost entirely out of shared illusions. It was already too late. The words had done their work. They had redrawn his sense of reality the way a surgeon redraws the lines on a map. Further engagement with the text is deemed incompatible with the maintenance of functional ignorance necessary for societal participation. It takes that, and that's why officially the search was discontinued. Unofficially, the story keeps resurfacing. A single text, a single page that tipped them over the edge from comfortable ignorance into unrequested clarity. If knowing the truth means losing the ability to live like everyone else, is the search still worth it? No one recorded his answer. Maybe he never wrote one. Maybe he realized that the moment you answer, one way or the other, you've already stepped across the line. In the conversations where you change the subject before it gets too honest. In the way your stomach tightens every time someone tells you, "Don't think about it. It's easier that way." Maybe the Book of Thoth isn't waiting to be found.